Let's bring in Georgia Congressman Doug Collins, the House Republican Conference Vice Chair and a member of the House Judiciary Committee. Big week in all things judiciary. Talk to me about where we are in terms of what is new that we could see from Strzok and Page.
Well, the interesting thing is, Harris, it's amazing to me that now they're concerned about politicizing this issue. Are you kidding me? Really? Between Strzok and Page, they were politicizing the whole thing. That is the reason we're looking into this. And by the way, Ms. Page, your attorneys have probably told you this. There's not an RSVP attached to a subpoena. It's show up. Do what you're supposed to do. That's what Congress is supposed to be doing, and that's what we're going to be looking for, is to get that motivation. Why were you so upset? Why were you politicizing and possibly corrupting two very high-level investigations going in? Those are the kind of questions we need to answer.
Well, and you know, Congressman, I was saying this on Outnumbered last hour. My list of questions actually has gotten longer because what I do understand is that it's bigger than these two. I mean, if you had somebody from inside the FBI, a high level in more than one investigation that they're part of, texting back and forth some sort of a campaign against somebody who wants to make it to the White House, no matter which political party, that is problematic. It frustrates our ability to trust that our needs as Americans are being put in the forefront.
This is the kind of stuff that makes people sit at home and scratch their head and say, if I did something like this, I wouldn't be given the benefit of the doubt. I wouldn't get to say if I want to comply with a subpoena or not. This is what makes people, really, frankly, on both sides of the aisle, should be very concerned. When you have people at that level, with that security clearance, with that level of authorization to be investigating, and they have basically have shown themselves to be biased at the least, corrupt at worst, this is the kind of thing that we need to continue to focus on, whether it be McCabe, Strzok, or Page. These are the kind of things that make people not trust the system, and also just sows discontent onto those hardworking individuals in the FBI who do the work every day across the world. They have been let down by those senior leadership. They need to be held accountable, and if they're not held accountable, then basically people across the country are saying, well, then I don't need to be held accountable. This starts at the top level and needs to be fixed, and Ms. Page needs to answer for these questions, because they don't need to be part of an investigation in which they are corrupting the investigation. And remember, Strzok, we have been talking about this in our questions to the directors now. Why was his polygraph test, why were they out of compliance? Why were these things and him still be allowed to be at compartmentalized information? There's still a lot more questions to ask.
Yeah, and I mean, you're laying it all out. Unfortunately, what happens in these hearings, and I'm not talking about the behind the closed doors with Lisa Page, but finally, if we get to see Peter Strzok, you know, out publicly talking, is that it becomes a place where lawmakers do a little grandstanding. I'm sure you've seen it happen. So how do you
really, Harris, no.
I mean, that doesn't help the American people to understand and to get to the answers of some of the things that are important that you're asking. So how do you thwart that? How do you make this now really necessary, important process one that can pay off?
Well, I think what we got to do is ask specific focus questions. Since our last week with Ray and Rosenstein, what we have actually done is we've prepared a list that we're continuing to get back to them, following up on the very simple questions. I'm an attorney at heart. I'm someone who listens to the answers. And what we've heard from Page and Strzok have not struck the right chord, literally. And neither is McCabe. So what we're doing is we're following up, saying, okay, if there was this process out of points, because what we don't want to do, we want to focus the bad actors now. Get rid of them, punish them as they need to be. But I'm looking to the next 5 to 10 years. I don't want another Lisa Page or Peter or Strzok to be a part of the FBI in the future. So we need to make sure the processes are right.
I want to unpack a little bit of what you said in case people missed it. You mentioned the word security clearance, and this is where across chambers Senator Rand Paul has been. He has requested to know, well, what were their security clearances after they were removed from those positions on investigations? And did they still have the kind of clearance that most people at the FBI have, which means they can look at anything among any of us? What is the latest process to get those kinds of answers on the House side?
Well, that's what we've been asking this question. I'm glad to have Senator Paul join us in that, because we asked that question last fall, I think it was earlier this year, of the Deputy Attorney General. What happened to his security clearance when Strzok was moved to personnel, which is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. You move him to personnel to corrupt others. That's just not good. But I said, is his security clearance there? He answered me he did not know. When we got him back again this last time, we talked about issues of why his personnel or his security clearance, especially from the compartmentalized information that he was dealing with, why it should have been pulled. And this is now we're finding out that we're not sure. We're having to unpeel those answers. That is why investigations from the House and the Senate, if they would like to join, but the House in particular, what we're doing now is going line by line. I'm taking this very methodically. I want the answers, because the answers lead to the questions that we need to ask next and lead to solutions in the future.
All right. Is bias enough to keep a person out of the White House? Just a real quick answer. Like, could that have been the total plan? if you will.
Look, they've also, I mean, I think sometimes, there could be a lover's embellishment here. They were impressing each other. I'm not sure. But at a certain point in time, my concern is they were close enough to the real information and to basically send out information that could be false or corrupted that could have affected that. And if they had that in their mind, that is an inside coup. That's not allowed in this country.
Wow. Congressman Collins from the great state of Georgia. I'm a peach. I'm a fan of that state. Good to see you today. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Harris. Take care.